Well, hey folks, and welcome to Solarcabin channel. It's springtime here, and we're having some storms, some little rainstorms and drizzly and kind of wet around my cabin here. But I thought this is a good opportunity because I know a lot of you are getting ready to set up your small off-grid solar system. So I thought I would explain, because a lot of people wonder, well, what do you do when you don't have enough sun? Well, that's kind of been the case for the last 3 days here. It's been stormy and overcast. But I'm still getting power from my solar panels, which is a good deal. So let me just kind of show you what I'm dealing with here. As you can see, it's just kind of a overcast gray, and it's been raining off and on now for 3 days. And so I haven't got a lot of power from my solar panels, but it hasn't been real stormy. And as you can see, my wind turbine is doing absolutely nothing. It hasn't been windy enough. You need at least 5 miles per hour wind in order to get any power out of a wind turbine. That's why I tell people, don't rely on a wind turbine as your primary source of power. It's not going to work because wind is very sporadic. Now when the wind blows, that puts out a lot of power and charges my batteries up really fast, but most days it doesn't really do anything. In the winter it helps out some. So what I'm relying on for my power is my little 400 watt off-grid system. And I've showed this in other videos, but I'll show you again real quick. This is a 400 watt system. These are Renogy 100 watt panels, and then inside I've got 3 of the VMAX tank 155 amp hour sealed batteries, AGM batteries, inside the cabin. You can put those right inside the house. They're sealed and designed for that. They don't off gas. So I've got just about 460 amp hours of battery storage inside, and then with just these 400 watt panels, for 100 watt panels, I'm able to recharge my system. Now on a sunny day, I can generally recharge this system by 10 o'clock. It's completely refilled. In fact, usually it's filled up before that. But on days like this, it's slower, and I wanted to see just how much difference there was. Now I used to have these panels up on the roof, as you all know, but I took the panels down from the roof and put them down here because it's a lot easier to do maintenance on them, a lot easier to just brush the snow. I don't have to shimmy out a window in order to brush the snow off. We get a lot of snow here, so I can just brush the snow off these panels. But generally on a sunny day, these things are, now these are monochrome panels, and these produce better in direct sunlight than the polys. If you live in an area that has low sunlight, I would suggest poly panels instead of the mono. But I got mono because I got a really good deal on them. And these are now, I've had this system now for about 2.5, close to 3 years working here. And as you can see, I've just got mine mounted on some cement blocks with a pressure treated 2x4 underneath, and then wired to that down, and then it sits on my old horse rail. I've just got it hooked to my old horse rail there, and then I've got some PVC, and I just run all the panels. I run all straight 12 volt. I don't like boosting up my panels to anything but 12 volt. It just makes it easier to do maintenance on them. Okay, so I'm going to take you inside now, and I'm going to show you some gadgets and things that you can work. But I was going to show you, look how green my lawn is getting. This rain is just really nice, actually, because this time of year it's just greening up everything. Everything's getting all colored up. The trees haven't yet got on their leaves, most of them. This tree over here, it always gets its leaves on early. I think that's a Japanese elm or Chinese elm, one of the two. And but the lawns and everything are coming in really nice. And so I've been out. I did my first mow the other day on my property, and I've got a bunch of little projects I'm going to do this year. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you inside, and I'm going to take you inside, and I'm going to show you some gadgets, some products and things that I use all the time around my homestead, because like I've got just a small system like I've shown you. So the gadgets and appliances and lights and computer and things that I use are all designed to use a minimum amount of power. That way my small system will keep up with it even on days like this when we're not getting a lot of great sunshine. It will at least keep everything powered up. And so I can go 3 days, no sunshine, no problem, because it is producing some power. On the inside, I just read my meter. Now, like I said, usually by 10 o'clock on a sunny day, my batteries are completely recharged. Recharge is about 14 volts. Right now, it is about 10:30, and I'm sitting at 13.1 volts. So you can see I'm not getting as much of a charge on a day like this as I would on a really sunny day, but I checked and I'm still getting out about 4 amps of power out of my panels. On a real good sunny day, I may get 8 to 10 amps of power out of these panels, constant flow. So that's the difference in a sunny day and a day like this. But you're still going to recharge. You just remember that on days like this, you're not going to have as much power going in, so you try to reduce your power load. But with the appliances and gadgets that I'm going to show you, you can actually use all your appliances even on days like this and still have all the power you need. So I'm going to go inside now and we'll show you what gadgets and appliances I use. Okay folks, I'm just going to show you a few of the gadgets and wiring, how I got my off-grid cabin set up here. One of the things that people are always curious about is, do I get internet? Can I watch videos? Can I use my computer? And to answer all of those, yes, you can do all of those off-grid. Now this little system here is one of those little power books made by RCA. It's 10-inch windows, and I use this because it's very, very low power. It has a 6-hour battery, and it doesn't use very much power at all off of my system. Now I have a 15-inch laptop upstairs that I do my work on when I'm doing my SketchUp designs and that. I like a bigger screen and a better keyboard. But for just using this for browsing the internet, watching videos at night or watching a TV show or something like that, then I use this. Now how I get internet, I use a mobile device, which is that little unit right there. This is from AT&T, and I've been with them for quite a few years. I got a grandfathered in plan for full connection internet all the time. I'm always hooked to the internet because I do all my work. I sell my ebooks and everything online, so I have to have internet. And that's just a mobile internet device that just plugs into the USB port, and I can transfer that from either computer. I can put that on my laptop or on this little PowerBook, RCA PowerBook 10-inch computer. And I like these because they're real low watt. If you try to use a desktop computer on off-grid, those things can use a whole lot of power. So I don't recommend them for a small off-grid system like mine. A laptop or one of these PowerBook computers, this one has the tablet that detaches, so I can just use it as a tablet or with the keyboard. Those use a whole lot less power. They use a flash drive instead of a regular drive, and they don't have this one doesn't have a CD player in it. My regular laptop upstairs has a CD player in it. It uses a little bit more power, but I use it during the daytime. At nighttime, I just switch over and use this system here. Okay, some of the other appliances I get asked about are fridges, and I've shown this fridge before. This is an Edge Star fridge. These are really good fridges. However, they do use quite a bit of power, and you have to use a larger inverter. I'm not actually using that fridge right now, and unless I boost up my system, probably won't use it because I switched over to an ARB fridge, which I've also shown before in some of my other videos. An ARB 50-quart fridge. This uses a Danfoss compressor, and as you can see, the power panel shows that it's at 15 degrees Fahrenheit right now, which is where I keep it set. This unit will run off either 12 volt or 110. I keep it run off of 110. And I'll open it up here just to show you. It's quite roomy. Okay, I've got a bunch of food in there. For 2 people, you can put enough food in there for a week usually. It's got removable metal racks inside it there. And this is a fridge and freezer. The bottom part will keep everything froze. The stuff you don't want froze, you put on top, and it will keep it at a real nice cold temperature. If you want cold beer, this thing will do the job. Now this will run off of 12 volt or 110. I've got it run off DC because that uses less power. If you have to run something off of an inverter, you're converting the power from AC or from DC to AC, which has some loss, and so you're using more power just to run the inverter. So if an appliance can run off DC, which most appliances, small appliances and gadgets can run off DC, this fridge is designed specifically for running off DC. You can see it's got a pigtail with one of the cigarette lighter plugs. And then I've just got my little, I've got a two cap cigarette plug lighter, and that runs into my batteries storage in there. And then I can hook up another appliance because I've got some other DC appliances I use for cooking. I've got a small oven and some other coffee pot and things like that. I can just plug those right in there and use them. And so that's how you run your appliances rather than run off an inverter. You just buy these connectors, and you can get these connectors anywhere just about. Any auto supply store or Amazon carries those connectors. Real good ones, and I'm going to show you another one here. Now, lights are another big issue. You can use if you try to use standard lights, you're going to run into problems because you're going to use a lot of power with a standard light. However, if you want to switch over, which is pretty much mandatory now, you can switch over to these LED lights, which use much less power and also last a lot longer, so you don't have to replace them. They're a little more expensive. Excuse me. They're a little more expensive than the old type lights, but they last 10 times longer, so you know in the long run you're going to save yourself. Now these are made by Conserve Energy. These are 60 watt soft white LED lights, and you can just screw those into your regular light sockets if you've already got light sockets set up. If you don't have light sockets set up and you're going to be wiring an off-grid cabin like mine, then what I recommend are getting LED lights like this. This is a 150 lumen, so this is about regular 3 light bulbs of power in there, and you can see the little LEDs in there, and it has a switch on and off, and these are designed to wire directly into 12 volts. Got a red and black 12 volt light. I'm putting this in my bathroom to replace the old one. Now for a long time I've used halogen lights. Before they had LED lights, we used halogen lights in our RV systems, off-grid systems, because they use a lot less power. And I pulled these out of an old camper I had, and you can see the halogen bulb. Now these still work fine, but these still use about 5 times as much power as that LED light. So I'm switching out these old RV, and I'll just keep them around for emergencies. I like the old halogens for one reason. You can always find these bulbs. Even if you find an old car or something that's got an old wrecked car, you can always get those bulbs out of them for free. So I've always kept those around. I still have one upstairs that I keep on backup just because I like to have halogen lights. But they do use a lot more power, and I would really recommend that you get these LED lights for your systems. Now, if you're going to be hooking up your 12 volt system, then you're probably going to want to use cigarette plug style. Set that down where we can see it, maybe get the glare off, but you're going to be using cigarette style plugs, okay? And that's what this is. This is made by KRA, and I just got this. I'm going to be installing it upstairs. It has 3 of the DC plugs, and then it's got 2 USB ports, and it's got an on-off switch. So I can turn everything off that's on this system. I can turn off with the on-off switch, and I can run the USB. Now I'll explain why that's important. Most small gadgets like this can be charged from USB directly from DC. That way, again, you don't have to run your inverter, because if you're running your inverter, you're using more power. So I can charge my laptop and I can charge this little PowerBook directly from the USB ports when this is installed upstairs. And that way I'm not using the inverter hardly at all. Okay? Now, inverters, big deal. I really recommend that you get the smallest inverter that you can use that will power your equipment. The larger the inverter, the more power loss it takes in converting the power. Appliances like microwaves and stuff like that are only used once in a while. I do use a microwave, every couple of 3 days or something like that. I'll heat up a meal or something. I run that off a small 1500 watt generator. It only takes about 10 minutes to heat up a meal. And, a couple of gallons of gas will practically last me all summer for running a microwave. So why run that off a big inverter that takes up a whole lot of power when I can just run it off a generator instead? So that's how we run big appliances. Now, I've used this inverter here, which is made by Wagon. It's a 400 watt inverter, and I've used this. It has 2 USB slots and 2 110 DC. It's 400 watts. And I've used that now for about 5 years, and it finally kicked the bucket. I think it got a loose connection in the back and got a short in, and I'm going to have to pull it apart. So what I'm doing is I'm changing out this. It's been a dang good inverter, but it is a little bit noisy, I've noticed. It does have a fan on it that's quite noisy. So I didn't really like the noise in the house now that I have the inverter in there, so I'm changing out to one that's supposed to be more quiet and has just a little bit more wattage. I'm changing out to this one. Which is made by Energizer, which is a known brand. This is made by Energizer. This is 500 watt inverter. It has the 2, let's see if I can show it here. It has 2 AC plugs on the front, and 500 watts for $35 wasn't bad. And this has 1,000 watt peak power, so it will run bigger appliances to get them started, and then it drops down to 500 watts. You can get inverters now real cheap that will power up your appliances and gadgets. You should be able to get one for between $30 and $40 for about a 500 watt inverter, 400 watt inverter. I also have a 175 watt inverter that does not have a fan on at all. In fact, that's what I'm running my whole system on right now. It's just a 175 watt inverter that doesn't have a fan, because the fan takes power. No matter what, if it has to keep it cool and the fan's running, it's going to use power. So I try to use the small 175 watt, but I'm also going to connect this 500 watt. So when I want to run a vacuum, which I have vacuums, as you can see over there, when I want to run a vacuum, then I will run it off this larger inverter here. Or a lot of times what I'll do is when I'm running my microwave, I also plug in my vacuum cleaners at the same time and just run those around the house. I mean, my cabin's real small, so I can vacuum it in less than 5 minutes, okay? Doesn't take very long. A couple times a week, I just vacuum it up. But I can run it off this inverter here. So you want to pick up an inverter. You can get two different types of inverters. Generally, a general purpose inverter like this, you don't need the fancy inverters. They're a lot more expensive, and unless you're running very high-tech equipment or a fridge or something like that off of them, then these general use inverters are going to be just fine. Now, the last thing I would show you would be wiring, because you're going to have to do some wiring. You can get stereo wire. That's probably the cheapest. But when you get your wire, really look at it close. As you can see, I bought this cheap old wire. I looked in the package because I couldn't open it, and this stuff is just so thin, I wouldn't trust it. So I went back and got some 8-gauge. This is 8-gauge stereo wire. You can see the difference. 25 feet for about $7. It's the lines are identified so you can tell your positive from your negative. And it doesn't matter what brand. Just get some good stereo wire to wire that in. Fusing on your system. You will want at least one fuse between the negative post and the negative wire. An inline 30 amp fuse is what I use on my system. So that's the only fuse that you really need. You don't need a junction box. You can put in a fancy junction box. They make marine style junction boxes if you want. I just wire my things together using good old electric tape. As long as you got a fuse on your negative wire, or on your positive wire, excuse me, a 30 amp fuse, you're in good shape. If something blows out, it'll blow the fuse before it blows out everything else. But if you get a junction box, you can get the blade fuses or the glass fuses, and those work really well. Some other things that I have in here. Here's an example of an LED light. You can see how bright it is. I'll turn it off here for a sec so you can see into it. These are LED lights. And this system actually, I've got two of them. There's one over my kitchen over there, or over my table over there. These actually run off of, these are pendulum lights, and these actually run off a separate system. This uses a little 5-watt panel all to itself, and it has a lithium battery. Let's see if I can see it over there. Yeah, might be able to see it. Okay, there's the lithium battery charger, and it also recharges cell phones, has a USB plug, and will recharge other small gadgets like cell phones and things like that. Now, why I have this system in here, this was $75 altogether, and the reason I have this is because if something happens to my main system, I still want to have some power, at least for emergency lights, and to recharge a cell phone. So this little system here, 5-watt system, is excellent, and these are portable. You can take these with you if you go camping or something like that. These little 5-watt systems are excellent for just carrying with you to go camping, or to put in your chicken coops if you want lights in your chicken coops or something like that. And I'll give you the brand names on all of these at the end of the video because I don't remember them just offhand because I bought them a while back. But this come with two LED lights, and I shorten the string. The string's quite long on them, but I shorten the string. Pendulum lights. And I just hang one over my kitchen. This lights up all my kitchen in here. And then another one up over my table over there. So those are really nice LED pendulum lights that you can get. Okay, that's the gadgets and systems and equipment that I use all the time. About the only other thing that I can't show you is my water pump. I use a SureFlow 12-volt water pump. And it's underneath my sink with my tank down there. So it's hardwired in with a switch, so that when I want to run water up to my sink or to my shower, I just flip the switch. That starts the pump, and then that runs. And I've got a 30-gallon tank underneath my sink, and that will generally last me a week by myself. Only have to refill it once a week, and then that I can wash my dishes, I can take a shower or whatever. And I use a SureFlow 12-volt pump for that. And that's the only thing that's hardwired really directly into the batteries with a switch on it. Okay, folks, this is another unit that I do recommend for these off-grid cabins. I've got a propane stove. I'm heating up some coffee there. And I wanted a vent hood for my cabin. Boy, the 110 ones are really expensive and use a lot of power. So if you look on eBay, I got this from Hangs. And this is a 12-volt range hood that has both a light. It's got a light and it's got a fan. Fan's kind of noisy, but you know, that's how they are. But this doesn't require any outside venting, so you can just vent this directly to your it vents it right out the top there through a filter screen. I haven't noticed any odors or problems with it, and it really sucks up all the smoke and steam, because in a little cabin like this, if you're cooking, all the steam and the smoke and everything that comes off of your pans, it'll just turn everything yellow. And you can see I've got some yellow up there that I need to clean off because I just barely wired this in. So I've got to get this all cleaned off, and you can see the yellow that's kind of come off of the cooking, so I need to get that cleaned up. Okay, folks, that's pretty much all the appliances that I use in my cabin. And you don't need, if you use propane, then you don't need to use big appliances off your solar panel systems. So these small 400 watt, 500 watt systems, these are excellent for off-grid cabins, but also good for people that may be on-grid but want an emergency backup system. A system like this will set you back about $1,500 to $2,000, but you don't have to do it all at once. I didn't. I bought the panels and started with just 2 batteries, then I added a 3rd battery later, and I bought my other gadgets and things like that later on as I could afford them. Then I put them in, so you don't have to do it all at once. All right, come by my website, simplesolarhomesteading.com. I've got a store on there that has all these appliances and gadgets and things like that on it. That I have recommended and I use, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about in the way of appliances. You can also take a look at the new Wombat micro camper plans that I've got on there. Really neat little teardrop camper. And also I've got my package deal still going on. For $10 you get my 355-page ebook, plus the cattail cabin, the Penobscot cabin, and a whole bunch of other cabin and off-grid design ideas. So come by my website, simplesolarhomesteading.com. Don't forget to like my videos and subscribe to my channel. I've got lots of new little projects coming up. I wouldn't want you to miss them. All right, everybody, have a great spring and summer. And it looks like the weather's going to clear up and it's getting a little sunny out there, so I'm going to get out there and start working on some projects. Have a great day, everybody.